Hey everyone, I'm going to be making some adorable pumpkins, and this is a large pumpkin in this mold, and I decorate them all different ways with rhinestones and pearls and jewelry, and they turn out so pretty. And I give you some tips on resins to use and how to color them and whatnot, so I hope you follow along. So for this project, I'm going to be making 4 good-sized pumpkins. I got a mold on Amazon, and I'm also going to be using Bond Craftor resin. So for the first one, I'm using the regular Bond Craftor resin, the casting resin, and as I go on, then I use the deep pour resin. The reason you can't pour a casting resin that deep is it will cause a chemical reaction that'll cause it to overheat, bubble over, and it can ruin your mold. So for this one I don't show myself pouring it, but I ended up doing it in 2 layers. I used mica powder, and I poured it about 2/3 full, and then I put the last third in after that had started to cure, and you can see the lines from it. So the mica powder kind of settled at the bottom, so the top, which was the bottom when you're pouring it, has kind of a line around it, and the bottom also has a line around it because that's where I started the last 1/3 of the resin with the mica powder. So when you pour it in layers, you can't get the exact same amount of mica powder, and mica powder can kind of settle. So when you're doing something large like this, I do not really recommend using mica powder. I mean, it turned out pretty, but you can see those lines, so I wasn't real happy with it. So keep watching, because I decorate all these pumpkins and they turn out so pretty. So the bottom of this has a sharp edge on it, and for those of you who don't know, this is a deburring tool, and you just go around the edge carefully and remove that sharp edge. It's super easy to do. This deburring tool on Amazon is like $6.99, and you get an additional 8 blades with it, and it's just a real easy process. So you may also need to do this to the inside of the lip of the lid for the pumpkin if it doesn't fit on there properly. I think this fit on there okay though. So you can paint the stem with mica powder before by putting it inside of the mold, or you can choose to do it after. And I use the Resiner's pens. These are real nice metallic pens, and this is the gold that I just went ahead and did the stem with. It was super easy to do. So one way for you to get consistent color all the way throughout your pumpkin would be to color it with mica powder before you pour the resin in, and that's what I did with this. And I used some off-brand chameleon pigment powders that I've had forever. It's a real pretty color. It almost looks like a gold. And of course this is sped way up because it took forever. And I just painted the entire inside of the pumpkin with the mold turned inside out. And there was some areas that didn't look like it was covering all the way. There was a couple of spots on it that I'm thinking it's not taking the mica powder real good. And this is why I decided to mix some of the chameleon powder in with the resin that I'm going to pour into it. Now, a lot of times people will use these chameleon powders and back it with black or back it with white, and it will look different depending on what color resin you put in it. But the reason I decided not to use the black is because I was afraid if there was any spots that I had missed, you would see the black through it. So that's why I went ahead and I mixed some of the same chameleon powder that I painted on it into the resin. And the resin I'm using for this one is actually the Bond Craftor deep pour resin. And the deep pour resin is a much thinner resin. It takes several days to set up, and you can pour it all at once. And because it's thinner, the bubbles will dissipate on their own for the most part. And this particular resin and most deep pour resins are 2-to-1 ratio, so you have to be careful and think about it before you start measuring it. So it was 2 parts of one and 1 part of another. And this pumpkin, the actual pumpkin part of it, not the lid, I believe took 17 ounces of resin. So it's really quite a bit of resin. And the deep pour really is like any other resin. You have to mix it thoroughly, scraping the sides, scraping the bottom. This is sped way up, so it looks like I'm doing it really fast, but I'm not. And I do not end up putting this in my bubble removal machine. So I guess that is an option, but with it being such a thin resin, it does allow for the bubbles to dissipate on their own over 24 to 48 hours. So I believe this, after 24 hours, it should be kind of firm to touch, but you can't demold till after 48 hours. And here I am trying to paint the inside of the stem green, which doesn't work out very well, but I do paint the top of the mold also, and pour the deep pour resin into that. And I have it in this tray because I set it aside into the bathroom just away from everything, so that it can cure over 2 days. And you can see the stem. I didn't do a very good job painting the stem. So I'm not really used to painting molds with mica powder, so I'm not a professional at it yet. So anyway, so it really turned out pretty though. It's really, the color is consistent all the way around. It cured up really nice. I think it turned out beautiful. So I really think that's the way to go. This mold is so big you really have to use a deep pour resin with it. And I do have to do some cleanup on the bottom of it. And the lid fits perfect. So next you'll see me trying to clean up the mold in preparation of pouring another pumpkin. And I'm using tape to try to get all the excess mica powder off. And you'll see in my next pumpkin that I didn't get it all off, and a little bit of it got into the center of the white pumpkin that I'm making next. So this mold, you could actually turn it inside out and wash it very gently with some soap and water, you know, a gentle detergent. There's no reason why you couldn't do that, and that's probably what I should have done. So for this next pumpkin, I'm also using the deep pour resin, but this time I'm going to use a pigment paste, and I'm going to show you what the difference is. So I first used a mica powder in the resin, which the color was not consistent. The second time I painted the inside with the mica powder, so the color was very consistent. And this time I'm using a pigment paste. And by the way, this is the Tea Expert pigment paste. They have some really pretty pigment paste. They have a combination package with white, black, red, blue, and aqua. Real pretty, and yellow, I think. And this mixes in very nicely into your resin so that you get a consistent color. And I actually had to do 2 pours on this because I didn't mix enough, and still when I was done, you'll see the color is consistent throughout. So if you're not going to paint the outside of the mold with pigment powder, don't use a mica powder, use a pigment paste. And here you can see I'm coming back a second time. I had to mix up some more resin with some more pigment paste and finish filling up the large pumpkin, and also finish filling up the top. And then here I am a couple days later demolding the pumpkin, and it really came out nice. The color is consistent all the way through, and it really turned out nice. And this is with mixing a second amount. I don't know if you can see the inside. I'll show it to you at the end. But the inside does have a little bit of the colorant, the mica powder from the previous pumpkin. And look at, I got a hair in it. Do you believe that? It turned out perfect except for that hair. But I'm going to show you how I cover it up later. And you can see I'm having to go around the edge. It has some inconsistencies and sharp edges. And this is still fairly soft. I probably should have waited. And I think I do end up stopping and then coming back and kind of trimming the edges there, because I think it's a little bit too soft to trim anything up. And there's that hair. I can't believe it. I got a hair in it. But other than that, the top fits real nice, and keep watching because I decorate these I end up with 4 pumpkins. I decorate the 4 pumpkins so pretty. So the very last pumpkin, I don't show myself pouring. This I also did with a mica powder. And can you see how you can see there how the mica powder went to the bottom. So the mica powders are just not a good choice for large molds like this. I don't know if maybe if you put some Elmer's glue, the clear Elmer's glue in it, if it would keep it more consistent or not. I'm not really sure, but it just kind of floated to the bottom. So here I am, I'm starting to decorate them, and what I'm doing is I'm using rhinestone chains and some glue. This is E6000, and there may be a better glue to use, I'm not sure. This E6000 was kind of hard to squeeze out of the tube, and with E6000 you really need to do it in a well ventilated area, and you need to wear a respirator. The smells are terrible. It's really not good for you at all. And there is a warning on the package of the E6000. So anyway, I take my glue, go down each of the crevices, and put my rhinestone chains on. And it's easier if you measure your rhinestone chains and cut them first. And as I went along, I learned because it's easier if you just go all the way around with your E6000 and have your pre-cut chains and then just put them on all at once. The E6000 is thick enough that you don't have to worry about the chains sliding off. You can just stick it on there and set your pumpkin aside to dry. And once I was done doing the bottom of the pumpkin, then I started cutting and decorating the top of the pumpkin in the same fashion with the rhinestone chains in all of the crevices. And after I finished that, then I colored the stem with the silver Resiner's marker. I believe they're called chrome markers. They're real nice markers. You get 4 different ones in a package. Once that was done, I took E6000 and put it all around the perimeter of the stem and took some sparkly clear beads and put that right on top of the E6000. And then I let this pumpkin dry overnight, although I don't really think it needed that long. But I have more decorations to put on it. But isn't that pretty? I think that looks so pretty. So the next day I come back and I glue a little piece of jewelry to the top, and then I have some iridescent rhinestones that I glue all the way around the perimeter of the lid. And then I go on to decorate my other 3 pumpkins. So I'm not going to make you sit through the whole thing. Well, I will play it, but I'm going to put it super fast. It's actually an hour and a half of video that I'm condensing down to about 3 minutes. So, and the funny thing is, as you watch this, you'll see my workspace getting messier and messier. And it's a huge mess by the time. You can't see outside the perimeter of the camera here, but as time goes on, I have such a mess at the end to clean up. But it really was fun decorating them. And the rhinestones were super easy to do on the outside, but really this E6000, the odor that it puts out is really not good for you to be breathing in. It's really important that you wear a respirator and have it in a well-ventilated area. So the top of the orange one, I end up putting pearls, cutting pearls and putting pearls all the way around the outside, and then some different jewelry. And this one, the one that's colored with the mica powder, that I colored the entire mold with the mica powder, I actually have a chain that is a pearl chain instead of the rhinestones, and I think that's real pretty. And of course, each of the stems I colored with the Resiner's chrome markers, some of them different colors. And then this is the very last one, the white one, the one with the hair in it. And this one I decided to do black and white, and I end up putting a spider over this. I put a spider at the very top, on top of the stones, the black stones that I put on there, and then I put a spider going up the side, covering up the hair that was in the white resin. Hey everyone, trying to get it all in the picture again. So these were a lot of fun to decorate, and boy did I make a mess because I had something different on each one. But so when you're doing a mold this large, it's really in your best interest to use a deep pour resin, because if you don't use a deep pour and you have to layer it, or else it will flash cure. And there's different levels of flash curing. And the regular Bond Craftor resin, you can pour deeper than a lot of other resins I've used without it flash curing, but you could not, do it this deep. And you would have to do it in levels. But like I said, there's different levels of flash curing. It can flash cure to the point where it actually puffs out the top and smokes, and it can actually ruin your mold. Or I've had it flash cure before where it cured within a half an hour, and then it had like little pitting in it, so it'll ruin your resin. It can ruin your mold. And I mean, this is 17 ounces of resin. You don't want to waste 17 ounces of resin. And I think the Bond Craftor deep pour for 1.5 gallons is $66. So 1.5 gallons, that's a good amount. So that's not bad. And this worked really well. So when you're doing this, you're best off not using a mica powder like you saw. The pigment paste works really well. It mixes in, and I even had to do it two separate mixes because I didn't pour enough, and it still came out consistent in color. And I have, the only pigment paste that I have are the Tea Expert pigment paste. So I've never had any other ones, and these work really nice, and they're very concentrated. And I've used them in quite a few other videos that I've had. Now so this one had two problems. I got a hair in it, of course. I had to do that. And so I put the spider over it to hide it. And I had another spider on top. And on the inside, I didn't clean my mold out properly. So I ended up, I don't know if you can see it on here, with some remnants of the mica powder that I had used on this one here. So, and there was no reason why you couldn't take this mold, turn it inside out, and wash it, with a mild detergent, soap and water. I think that would have cleaned it out, and that would have been fine, and I didn't do that. So that's why I had that problem. And then the other way to get a consistent color beside the pigment paste would be to use, to color the whole inside of it with the mica powder. And that turned out real pretty too, I think. So, and then this is the pearl chains, rhinestone chains, well, pearl chains. But anyway, I thought that turned out real pretty. So the fun part was decorating. Made a huge mess. Colored all of the stems with the chrome markers from Resiners, and these are real nice markers. Someone asked me, once it's dried, is it easy to get off if you have made a mistake? And when they asked me it, I didn't know the answer because I hadn't had to, but the other day I did, and it was real easy to get the dried chrome markers off with isopropyl alcohol and a little Q-tip. Worked really well. So there's the answer if you're watching. So anyway, those are real nice too. So anyway, I hope you guys learned something new. If you did and enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you've not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I have close to 400 videos now, all sorts of resin and glass art, trying to do something new all the time. I have the amazing Facebook page going. I cannot keep up with them. I try to think of things to do that they haven't done already, or when somebody does something new that I've never tried before and people ask, how do you do it? I try to make a video about it, trying to figure it out myself. Everybody is so creative. It's really hard to keep up with them. So come check us out. Some really great ideas. And I hope you all have a great day. Thanks for watching.